Welcome to Side Notes. We're out and about at the Linsmore Tavern here in Toronto. We're with the Tony from Wild Tea and the Spirit. Thank you so much there, Tony.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. It's good to be here. It's a great crowd, a great room. We're having fun.
So you have about over 30 years of professional experience as a musician. You've been on stage with Bon Jovi. You were the guitarist for David Bowie, the remaining members of The Door. You also were Kim Mitchell, and the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
What are some musicians that you played with in the past that really stick out in your mind?
They all have their own, individual characteristics as everything else, as you would imagine. But I remember when we were with Bon Jovi, it was really neat because the first gig we did with them was in Victoria. And we drove out in a big bus and stuff. It was winter time. And I don't travel well sometimes, so by the time I got there, we did a show in Victoria before the Bon Jovi show was in Vancouver. We played in Victoria the night before, and I had laryngitis. One of the biggest nights in my life for the next day to go. And so by the end of the Wild Tea show in Victoria, I'm like talking like, yeah, man. Yeah. And people are lining up. They had to put me in a room, my managers, and lock it from the outside because I'm a party guy. They know I would run away and go out and go, and they had to lock it so they locked me in to keep me safe. And the next day we had to go open for Bon Jovi in Vancouver. And what stood out with that was we did the show, and thank God it was only like 20 minutes. And I pulled it off as much as I could. At the time, Milli Vanilli was around. You remember Milli Vanilli?
Yeah. And
it had a song called "Blame It on the Rain." So I remember making a joke about it, going when I couldn't sing, I blame it on the rain. And the whole crowd went, the whole stadium went crazy. So, and then after that, I met Bon Jovi, John, and told him that, sorry, man, I know we have like 2 more weeks, and he gave me some tips on how to like beat laryngitis because he's a real professional. And boy, did it ever work. By the next day, I was like singing like normal. He said, when you finish, do this, and I wrote some stuff down, and so that was really memorable. That's good.
So you're also, prior to the forming Wild Tea and the Spirit, you were a Jimi Hendrix tribute band.
Yeah, I had a band called Fire. We did a tribute to Jimi Hendrix, and that came about by fluke actually, because I'm from Trinidad originally, and I think they're so not into rock music and stuff that the Beatles are probably now breaking big down there. The Beatles are probably now hitting the mark in Trinidad. But I grew up listening to James Brown, Slant Family Stone, Otis Redding, funky stuff, and never once somebody gave me a Jimi Hendrix album, I couldn't stand it. I went, this is crazy there. I came up to Canada a few years later. I met a guy, he saw me play, and at the time I had a big afro. Like for some strange reason, I cut my afro, it's like medium. He saw me play, he went, grow an afro, learn 2 hours of Jimi Hendrix material, I guarantee you, mounds of money. So that night I went in with my afro comb, went, come on. And we started the Fire Band, it was really a monetary thing. Until about 2-3 months into it, I started really, people give me bootleg videos and tapes and stuff, and I started listening to Jimmy, the other side, like live, and I went, holy shit, this guy's amazing. And I started approaching it. This is something you gotta, big shoes to fill, and I love the challenge. I decided to do my own thing. When we played in Canada, Jimmy did the Star Spangled Banner. I ain't in Toronto playing no ting, 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 ting. I learned the Canadian national anthem. I went, hey, you gotta represent, right? So stuff like that. So I'm just a crazy cat like that. I started doing my own thing, and it was fun for a while until I started writing my own stuff. So that was a good stepping stone. I still do it once in a while. The highlight of it was crazy drummer. The highlight of it was about a few years ago. I played Jimmy in a Monkees movie called Daydream Believers, the Monkees story, and the story was Jimmy. Dick Clark was trying to break him in the States, and the Monkees were the big thing in the 60s and stuff, and they got this Jimmy to come and open for the Monkees. He got fired from the gig in 2 weeks because it's the Monkees. Hey, hey, we're the Monkees, and the little girls, 11-year-old girls, come with their mums, you know, to see them, and this black guy with a big afro, with foxy lady. So he got fired. So I played that part in the Monkees movie. It was fun.
You actually put out 6 albums under the Wild Tea and the Spirits.
Is that how many it was?
The last 3, I think that Guenther's been involved with. I know Guenther joined your band.
Yeah, it's not 6. We did 2. Yeah, it's about 5, and then there's one that's never really been released. But yeah, the last 2, Guenther was involved with.
And since that time, you're starting to travel over in Europe now. I heard you're going to be doing a tour pretty quick in Europe.
Yep.
You traveled all over the United States. What are some of the stories coming from the road that really stick out in your mind? I know you're sharing with traveling with Bon Jovi. What are some other stories?
I was in the States touring with Yngwie Malmsteen. Ever heard of that guy? Yngwie. We call him Yngwie Malmsteen, and he's like a guitar god. He's his girlfriend. He was going out with the girl when Jimmy died. That girl who Jimmy was with. So he acquired Jimmy's rings and whatever from Jimmy and stuff. And this guy can really play. He's like a legend, cult personality. He started all that stuff way before. And speed and picking and stuff. I was on the road with him in the States. Did about 2 or 3 weeks with him. And the first night, I remember I watched his show and went, what the hell am I doing here? Because there's guys lined up, it's all guys. You might see some goth chicks going, but it's a guy thing, right? Yngwie, they got Yngwie t-shirts and stuff. And I went to my hotel room and, okay, me, my creative mind going, I don't back down from nothing. I went, Yngwie's playing, I would play the slowest I can play. Hold one note and go, and just make it bleed it and stuff. Anyway, about 2 days later, I saw his manager. I went, I would love to meet Yngwie, man. You know, he's one of my heroes and stuff. And the manager goes, Yngwie doesn't hang around with the opening acts, and he's being like that. I went, okay, no, whatever. So the next night, I was backstage. He was going on stage. I was backstage walking, and Yngwie was walking up and said, I went, Yngwie, I'm the guy opening for you, man. And he goes, yeah. I went, I have a complaint. I've been listening. I have a complaint about your playing. He went, huh? And so now we come back. He wants to know, right? I'm just being, silly. And I go, yeah, I've been listening to you, and I got a complaint about your playing. And he goes, what? I go, you got to learn to play a little faster there, buddy. And he's like taking it literally. I know, I'm rusty, I haven't practiced. Yngwie, I'm kidding. You're the fastest guy I've ever seen in my life. I'm just being silly. That night we were in the bus. This guy. Me and Yngwie ended up being buddies for the rest of the tour. That was a fun thing.
Back in the 90s, you were actually a regular, I heard, on Much Music all the time. If you take a look at the musicians nowadays, what do you think, up-and-coming musicians, who would you recommend listening to that have the exact same chops on that you saw that people you grew up with?
Well, now the whole scene has changed, as everybody knows, right? There's not too many instrumentalists. Everybody's a goddamn singer. There's freaking American Idol, there's a voice, everything is singing, and these freaking people can't play a damn instrument. They don't get into, so it's not as, and 90% of the music you hear now is played by a thing, as opposed to played by a human. It's played by a thing, a drum machine, a thing, and all program stuff. So it's really not, not too much instruments. There's a guy, Joe Bonmassa is one of my heroes. He's keeps guitar playing. He keeps the flame alive. I mean, you come out to hear this guy's play guitar and make the guitar do all these weird things, which is what I do. My still favorites ever since I was in Trinidad, George Benson. You know George Benson?
Not offhand, sorry.
George Benson, in the 70s, he had an album with Masquerade, Are we really happy? We're just lonely, singing and playing. Do it, do it, do 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 singing and playing and stuff. George, this is in the 70s. Still my hero. Before I came here tonight, I had to get a taste of George Benson. I went, this guy is the most fluent guitar player I've ever heard in my freaking life. And nothing, he can play. He came up from jazz. He's branched over into the pop idiom, but crossed over and stuff. He can play, but lots of this time, slow and just beautiful, tasty. So I love George Benson. I mean, I know there's stuff out there, but there's so much out there now that I don't really listen to. Ever since I started growing up, I never really listened to too many people. I listened to my heart. I'd go home and practice, and of course, woodshed and develop my fingers. Up to this day, I don't. Every once in a while, something might come around, but I don't make a point to go out looking. But I know there's stuff out there. It's just there's so much now that lots of it is undermined. You know.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for that, Reginald. Thanks for having us.
This thing called Freedom Train.